Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Let's Get Ready Network. I'm Adelia. I'm here with my buddy Matt. This is the Rewatchers Council, our MCU edition here on the Post Credits channel. We're talking about Thor: The Dark World tonight. Matt, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
I am not feeling all that great tonight, so this is going to be a little bit more low energy than maybe usual. But Thor: The Dark World is a movie that is the eighth movie in the MCU. We've been doing this for 2 months already. I can't believe it. Um, Eighth movie in the MCU. It was released on November 8th, 2013 in the United States and was very successful actually for Marvel. It grossed over $644 million worldwide, was the 10th highest grossing film of 2013. It's not the best film though. It's not horrible by any stretch of the imagination. I think there's some really good stuff in there, but it also is full of a lot of nothing, really. What do you
Yeah.
think, Matt?
Yeah, this movie's like I remember not liking it in the beginning just cuz I was like,
Mhm.
it's so whatever, blah. But when I was watching today, I was like this is a like satisfying movie. It's cool. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing like too bad about it. But like the one thing that kind of I didn't care for when
Mhm.
I was watching it was that whole fight scene at the end when they're just like getting transported everywhere and stuff. Like it's just so messy. Like
It's hard to follow.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I was laughing because there's one scene where Jane and Selvig are running around, and she's like, "I can't get a signal," and I'm like, "Dude, if you're trying to get a signal, running around is probably like the worst thing to do." It's like,
Yeah, yeah. So let's start with that scene then. Um I didn't remember quite how messy that was.
yeah,
I knew it was involved the portals and there's jumping around, and at one point in time, Thor ends up on the London subway, the tube, and
hmm
like takes a train back to Greenwich. Like, how long is that going to take? Like in
yeah.
reality, like it just seems weird that you have him out of the fight for that long. Like,
Especially when he has the ability to fly himself if he still throws the hammer.
yeah, exactly.
Like,
Like, it's very strange. There's the fighter jets that are scrambled, and as they go to fire on Malekith's ship, they get sucked into a portal, and then miraculously they're just somehow back before the convergence ends.
hmm
Um, I do feel for the people of London who lost their cars when they went, through a portal with Thor and Malekith and ended up on Svartalheim or whatever that planet is called.
yeah,
Um, that had to suck. But it's a very messy end to
yeah,
this. I think there's a lot of good stuff in this movie though,
hmm
particularly the stuff with Loki. Um, we saw him be like the hidden bad guy in the first Thor until the end sort of revealed him as like the one who orchestrated the whole frost giants thing and everything.
yeah,
Um, then we see him as a total bad guy in Avengers.
hmm
And here he is trying to pass himself off still as the total bad guy, but the person who can see right through it is Frigga.
yeah,
And uh he has to live with the fact that he basically told Algrim, which is the name of that creature that ends up, helping Malekith kill her, that he sent them in her direction by telling him which way to go.
yeah,
And I just find that fascinating of something that Loki had to carry with him. And I think it kind of informed um, maybe not his decision to screw over Odin, because he doesn't like Odin. I don't think
hmm
until we realize until Thor Ragnarok that he actually does care for Odin. Um, but he loved his mom, man. Like
yeah,
he got her magic, and you know, I don't know. My dad was just in the hospital for a long time, and I relate to him more than I relate to my mom in a lot of ways. and just the thought of having, come to a situation where I could have lost him. I didn't, thank God. But just makes the thing with Loki hit home a little bit more tonight. Um, Also, Loki has the shittiest backstory of any character in the MCU,
Mm,
in my opinion. And Tom Hiddleston portrays him with such a emotional depth, even when he's just being the trickster god, that I really appreciate. Loki's my favorite character in all of the MCU.
mm,
I just think he's fascinating, and I'll have a lot more to say about Loki when we get to Thor Ragnarok. But
yeah.
what are your thoughts on Loki's role in this film?
Yeah, I mean, this really established like him and Thor as brothers. Like
Mm-hmm.
the first one, you couldn't tell if Thor really cared about Loki,
Yeah,
but this one, he does, and
yeah,
especially when you think about it, when you see him die in Infinity War,
mm-hmm.
and how bad it affected Thor,
Yeah,
into Endgame. So
yeah,
yeah, he meant a lot to him. They both meant a lot to each other.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I like Loki a lot. He's not my favorite character out of everybody, but he's cool because, like, honestly, um, he's not like a major player or anything like that in any sort of the MCU, Marvel universe or anything like that. So it's cool to have a likable but dangerous
yeah,
friend, I guess, to the
yeah.
to the Marvel people. You know what I mean? Like they call on him when they need him, but they know they can't trust him ever.
Yeah, I think he's had one of the most fascinating character arcs in all of the MCU, because we see him up to his death in Infinity War, and his like growth into being back on Thor's side and wanting to go against Thanos, and all of that. But then we also see him back to the trickster god in Endgame, steal the cube, leave the when they're in the past in Endgame, and that leads to the Loki series where he goes on an entirely new character arc from that previous place that he'd been in the 2012 Avengers, and arrive at this place where he's like literally holding the multiverse together. Loki's
Yeah,
fascinating to me.
yeah.
I mean, the only other character for me that has a kind of like crazy arc like that is Bucky. Like, I didn't get to talk about Captain America: The First Avenger, and I'm not going to be here next week to talk about Captain America: The Winter Soldier. But Bucky is incredible character that I didn't Google who the Winter Soldier was before when they announced Captain America and the Winter Soldier. So I didn't know going into that movie that that was going to be Bucky, and it was a phenomenal surprise. But
Yeah,
back to this movie. I sort of feel like the first Thor is a fish out of water story on Earth with Thor, the fish out of water.
yeah,
Um, it feels to me like what they tried to do with Jane in this one was get her to Asgard, but they couldn't think of like a reason for Thor to just show up and take her to Asgard, so they came up with this ether thing.
yeah.
Um, I find it interesting that we have the ether in a liquid form here. In Jane still for a long time, and then Thor like tries to destroy it at the end, and it like shatters, and Malekith puts it back together. So it's obviously this like liquid form thing. But when we get to Endgame, after they have gotten all of the Infinity Stones from their little time heist that they did,
Yeah.
suddenly it's just a stone.
Mhm.
That always cracks me up.
Yeah.
Um, but this is a fish out of water story with Jane on Asgard. And um how you feel about it? How you feel about that part?
Um. Yeah. Like. Obviously, they were gonna have her in the movie and stuff, but like,
Mhm.
there was no explanation as to why the ether like enters somebody or something like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they got her in there some way, but there's a roundabout.
Yeah. Yeah. We also have Darcy and Darcy's intern Ian, who we never see again in the
Yeah.
MCU. But we see Darcy again, but not Ian. Um I find most everything with Darcy in the Thor movies to be pretty annoying. I like her a lot in WandaVision, but and it's I don't blame this on Kat Dennings or anything because she's just following the direction of the directors who directed these movies. But she's just really annoying to me.
Yeah. No, she
uh,
is. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know how she's sort of like I don't know why Jane uses her to like do stuff. It's like she's not technical at all. She doesn't care about it at all.
yeah, and
um,
she obviously knows something about science though, because by the
yeah,
time we get to WandaVision, she's like called in to help figure out why this thing's happening with Wanda and Vision. So,
yeah,
working for Sword, I guess. Um, and we also have the Eric Selvig thing. I think that I don't know how to feel about the Loki was in my head, so now I'm just crazy plot.
yeah,
Like running around naked at Stonehenge seems a little too much for me in that regard.
yeah,
Because like, why does he have to be naked? Like,
yeah,
is that what gets him arrested? Like, I don't know. That part's weird to me. I do think it's funny that they pretend that Ian is his son to get him out of the psychiatric hospital
yeah,
or wherever he is. And then we have that scene with the birds where the birds disappear through the convergence and then reappear around all of them. And he just is like throws out all his meds. He's cured.
yep,
It's good to know that the world is crazier than you are.
yeah,
Um, I like Selvig. I think he's an interesting character. I'm glad we see him again in Age of Ultron. I don't think we've seen him since Age of Ultron. Um, but yeah, just not sure why they made some of the choices with Selvig that they did here. I get that like if you were possessed, you wouldn't be yourself, but why does that have to go to full on crazy?
yeah.
Um, let's see what else is there in this. Malekith. Let's talk about Malekith.
Hmm.
He is probably, in my opinion, the weakest Marvel villain.
Yeah. He's so one note.
He's very one note. He has one thought. He just wants to turn the world back to darkness
Yeah,
and uh, destroy the Asgardians in the process. And yeah, that's Malekith. I hate that they wasted such a great actor like Christopher Eccleston on this character. I hate that they wasted an entire movie with this character as the villain. Um, Nothing about him is compelling or scary. His look's a little scary. The other dark elves with the masks, with the blank eyes, are scarier looking to me, creepier looking to me than
yeah,
Malekith is. Algrim, his buddy who turns into the whatever he turns into in the dungeons of Asgard, he's a little more interesting to me just because like he turns into that creature somehow, but also just very one note, and he just dies in the fight with Thor and Loki on Svartalfheim. I think I'm saying that right.
yeah,
um I don't know. I never saw them as much of a threat. I think that the shape of the little ships that come off of the big ship are pretty cool. I like the way they sort of like zip around and decapitate things and stuff in Asgard in the scene where they're attacking Asgard, but other than that, not much to say positively about the Dark Elves.
yeah. Yeah, especially Malekith, like no one was afraid of him. Like no one,
No.
you know what I mean? Like no one cared at all about him. And then he also like never did anything to where you're like, oh man, like they better take this guy out, you know, because if he's
Yeah.
gone, then everything's gonna go to shit or something. But
Yeah.
because he didn't even say anything he wanted to do once he killed all of them. You know what I mean? Like
He just
you
wanted
guys,
the universe to go back to being dark.
yeah,
That's all he wanted. It makes no sense,
mm,
really. Also, what makes no sense to me is how they defeat Malekith.
Yeah.
Like, let's put some sticks in the ground and Jane can turn some knobs and they'll just disappear.
Yeah.
Like, that's very weird to me.
Well,
Um,
there was one point in the fight where him and Thor are fighting, where Thor throws his hammer and it goes right through him, and I was like, how the fuck did that happen?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, that's weird. Um, this film was directed by Alan Taylor. Kenneth Branagh did not come back from the first movie. Alan Taylor, best known probably for directing a bunch of Game of Thrones.
mhm.
Um, he doesn't like this movie. He says that Marvel substantially altered it from his original vision for the film. Um, I can see that being, the case, but I just also don't think that he's a guy that could handle a movie like this at that stage of his career as a director. I don't know of any other Alan Taylor directed films. Um, this film, I think, at one point in time was going to be directed by Patty Jenkins, maybe. So that could have been interesting.
Hmm.
Um, I just don't think that much about it really truly works because nothing of note actually really happens. Like, they attack one little area of Greenwich on Earth, which is fine. Not everything has to be on Earth. But what else happens in this movie besides Loki was imprisoned at the beginning of it and then is out impersonating Odin by the end of it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's really probably the most noteworthy thing about this entire film.
Yeah, there's just so much that happens on Asgard. And then when it comes down to it, Asgard just ends up getting blown up in Ragnarok. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but then also it's like, this movie kind of, I guess they knew that everyone didn't care or whatever. I mean, because like you said, it did well, but they had to bring it back up in Endgame and Infinity in Endgame, to like bring people back
Well,
to this movie. I think like
yeah, I think what they did with this film, and the revisiting of it in Endgame is actually make it more important because it was
yeah,
just completely not important at all.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They had to get the ether from somewhere. They knew it was with Jane on Asgard. They had to get it from there. It also gave Thor some good motivation after the talk with his mother on
hmm,
in Endgame, and it was nice to see Frigga again in Endgame.
yeah,
Another thing I really like about this movie is the beautiful funeral for Frigga and the score during that. Brian Tyler did really well with the music on that, and
yeah,
I thought that was a really beautiful, lovely scene. But yeah, like so much about this was like Odin just being like lost in grief and not wanting to see and willing to kill everybody on Asgard to just fight Malekith, and Thor being like, that's not smart. And, then committing treason and getting everybody to commit treason to help him escape with Loki and Jane.
yeah.
And that really seems more like something Loki would do than Thor.
Hmm. Yeah, Thor's not like he doesn't plan shit. Thor's real
Yeah,
reaction.
Thor doesn't Thor does not plan.
Hmm.
Loki, I think, was the one who always made the plans, and then Thor, not that he can't come up with ideas and things, and he's obviously very good at fighting, but when they have that scene of how this is all going to go down, and he's sitting at the table and with the Warriors 3 and Sif, really the last time we ever get to see the Warriors 3 and Thor together is in that
Yeah,
scene. And I don't know, I just don't buy it as him as like the mastermind of this plan.
yeah.
Um but yeah, any other thoughts, Matt?
I have one complaint about this movie, and I don't know who to put it on, if it's the movie or Disney Plus. But the volume when people are talking in this movie is just incredibly low. Like
Yeah.
it was whisper quiet at points where I'm like, dude, like there was the scene when I brought it up to you where they were in the throne room. It was just Thor and Odin, and they're like probably 20 feet away from each other, 15 feet. So you'd be talking a little louder than you would if someone was next to you, and I
Mhm.
could not hear anything. And I was sitting 2 feet, 3 feet from my computer and had it full blast.
Yeah.
Um, uh, and then after we were done, I went back on Disney Plus and I was watching Homeland. And the first scene that pops up is these two dudes standing next to each other. They're talking, and it's like so much louder. I was like, "What's
Yeah.
going on here?"
I do think there's a problem with the audio mix on the Disney Plus version because I don't remember it being that quiet on like my DVD copy of this movie.
Yeah,
Um, so that is something that maybe Disney Plus should look into fixing because it was hard to hear. I had like the subtitles on so that I could catch what was being said at certain points because,
yeah.
yeah. Um, but Matt, what's your score for this movie out of 10?
I'm gonna give this a 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty mid range to me.
Yeah. I'm going to give this a 6. I like the Loki stuff, but like nothing else happens in this movie.
Yeah.
And even the Loki stuff and where we leave Loki at the end impersonating the Odin, they're just going to completely undo it in like the first 10 minutes of Ragnarok. So,
Mm,
it's just like it's there. It's a an MCU movie. Over on our letterboxed, I have put up my list of the Marvel movies in ranked order that I have seen. Now, I have done the Marvel movies, the Marvel one shots, the Disney Plus series, because that's what's on Letterboxd. I have Thor the Dark World 36th out of 43 things.
oh,
Like
okay.
I like the MCU more than most, but this just is nothing basically. To
Yeah.
it doesn't besides there being an Infinity Stone in this and them taking the Infinity Stone in the post-credit scene to the Collector, thus teasing Guardians of the Galaxy. And what would eventually happen with the Collector and Thanos in Infinity War. Um, Nothing happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just not it's not like this is, good viewing if you just want a fun Thor and Loki kind of movie. It's definitely my I haven't seen Love and Thunder yet. So of the 3 Thor films that I've seen, this is my least favorite. But I don't know, man. They could have done so much better with this.
Yeah. I mean, if it would have been the only Thor movie they ever made, I wouldn't be like, oh, it's cool, whatever, whatever. But knowing the whole story of everything and everything, it's just like, yeah,
Yeah.
who cares? Like, what? Everything that happened in it doesn't even matter to anything.
Yeah, I think that the like realization that like this just isn't that consequential to the overall storyline is what made them completely change the tone for Ragnarok. Because I remember when they announced that the third Thor movie was going to be Thor Ragnarok, everyone was like, "Oh God, here's the really dark and depressing Thor movie," and it just isn't that. So we'll talk about that one soon because we got to get to that in Phase 3. Right now, we're in Phase 2. Um, Thank you everyone for joining us on this relatively short episode of the Rewatchers Council. Just me and Matt talking here tonight. Matt, thank you for joining me.
Mm-hmm.
You can find us on this channel every week, Saturday, 3 p.m. Pacific, with another episode of the MCU Rewatchers Council. There's other editions of the Rewatchers Council for Buffy and Angel. Those are at 3 p.m. Pacific on Thursday and Friday, respectively. And yeah, we've got the post credits. We'll have some new reviews coming out soon for Ironheart. So check all that out. But until next time, we are out of here. Bye, guys.